Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the show. This is Vimoh Live. It's a live stream that happens on YouTube on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. We usually talk about atheism, but there are other things also that we talk about. Mostly, it's just a call in thing where people call in and talk to me in under the impression that I have the answer to the question, and in most cases, I don't. But when I do, I try to help out. Sindhu was in the live stream a couple of weeks ago and waiting in queue, but she could not join. She is okay, Sindhu. First of all, thank you for becoming a member. It is really appreciated. Everyone, become like Sindhu. Click the join button below and become a member of the channel. This channel is literally sponsored by the contributions of people like you. So any help is appreciated. It helps me pay bills and buy books. So appreciate that. So without much further delay, before I do anything else, I'll just get Sindhu on. Maybe because I don't want to lose the opportunity again. Hi Sindhu, what's up?
Hi, am I audible from my side?
Yes, you're audible. Go on.
Thank you so much, Vimoh, for having me on. I think before I go on and eat your head with my questions, I just wanted to begin by saying thank you so much for this community. I had a very hard time being a female in India, finding myself having atheistic views for a really long time. I it was a
Hmm.
good struggle for me for a decade now,
Yeah,
and only because I found your channel, I've been able to work on accepting what I am, and really
that
coming out of the closet and telling people I'm an atheist. So that
that means
really
a lot.
helps.
That means a lot.
Um,
Have you had like now that, if you don't mind me asking, now that you do mention it, what kind of reactions have you been getting?
Good question. So, family is of course not happy uh, because I'm the flag bearer of carrying on the tradition and the
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
dharmic culture and stuff like that. So they're really not happy about it. I have a daughter, so I think you know that Sumana and I have
yeah, yeah, yeah.
more close because of this common thing that we have, that we both
Mm-hmm.
want um, to bring up our daughter in a more secular, atheistic kind of a way. So that's been hard. So it's not been very easy, but it's been very, very freeing and liberating for me to just say this. And it's only because of you. It's only because of your work that you've been doing. I
No,
don't.
no.
I don't think. No,
I
really,
think
I
you're,
don't think
I think you're
you
giving me
really
too much
understand
credit.
the impact. No, no, I no. It's look. You need to say. You need to acknowledge this, because I don't think you really realize the impact of what this can do to someone who's going through a lot of struggles because of this. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Um,
It means a lot. Thank you for saying that.
yeah. Um, so I have a hard time with some of the questions that I keep coming across from people around me. So I
Hmm.
thought I'll just throw in those questions at you, and maybe you could answer them for me, and I
Sure.
could maybe
I could
um,
try.
yeah, you could try.
Because the last episode, someone was asking for medical advice, and I was like, please don't ask me stuff I
Right.
don't know about. Yeah, but
Yeah.
sure, if I can, I will.
Yeah. So it's all about power structures a little bit, and some gender and some
Okay.
religions. So I was also wondering, like, I think you should write a book on some of those things that you put up on Twitter. Like, I would be the first one to buy the book, like, especially about this perspective that you offer about power structures, right?
Hmm.
Like, it's really helpful. And given the current political climate that we are in, I think we need something like that, like some kind of a like a written resource there. Like, really
Well,
think about that. Think about that.
yeah, yeah, I've been thinking about it for quite a long time. In fact, all the things that I've written on Twitter, if I combine it, it comes to around
Yes.
35,000 words.
Oh wow.
So it's a it's a book in itself. But I hope you pay some attention to the fact that given the political climate we are in, publishers also have to think about certain things.
Sure. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. So if a
Yeah.
book is going to happen, it's probably not going to happen now. Whenever it happens, obviously you'll be the first to know.
Awesome. Okay. So yeah. So one thing that I keep coming across from people is firstly this aspect of wanting India to be a Hindu Rashtra, and
Hmm.
then they ask me, what is the problem? What is the problem if India becomes a Hindu country?
Hmm.
Um, what would be a good answer to that?
I think a good answer is what do you think will change?
Hmm.
What is a Hindu Rashtra? In what
Hmm.
way will it physically manifest? Like, what is the thing that around you will change? Will there be less poverty? Will there be less crime? Will there be uh, less patriarchy? Will there be less superstition? Or do you think that there'll be, like, if someone says Hindu Rashtra, the one thing that jumps out immediately is that primacy for Hindu, right? Hindu way of life, Hindu people, I don't know, they can have conversations about it. But when they say Hindu Rashtra, what exactly do they mean? Because there are even people who say India is already a Hindu Rashtra by merit of the fact that it's a Hindu majority country, the same way that America is a Christian Rashtra and Germany is a Christian country.
mm,
So I think the best response is okay, so you think that India should be a Hindu Rashtra. What are the change exactly that you're looking for? Because changing the label is not going to change the flavor of the achar, right? You can put any label on a jar, the achar will taste the way it tastes. So
correct.
after someone says what the change is that they're looking forward to or want to happen, we can talk about it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good kind of place to start off.
Hmm.
What I notice a lot is this actual anxiety that right wingers have, like around me, especially some of the people I'm related to and I'm friends with. The anxiety is so real. Like they really truly believe that Muslims are going to take over India, and like they're caught up in that aspect. I see that anxiety being very real. So it sort of really pains me sometimes that you're really gripped by this anxiety so much. And
Yeah.
so how do you kind of deal with something along the lines of how they say no, we cannot let go of this political party, or we cannot let go of fighting for a Hindu Rashtra, because once we stop that, Muslims are going to take over. Like it's such a strong anxiety piece there, like
Well,
fear of
the
getting outnumbered. And then they kind of quote all these things that, oh, Malaysia or Indonesia, like look at all those examples that we have around. And
hmm.
so it's hard for me to kind of have that conversation because they're
So
so gripped with.
they're choosing examples, right? They're cherry picking examples. If they look at another, like for example, some days ago I found this old coot, an NRI who ran away for money, who was like on some idiot podcast, and he was like, "Look at Singapore," and my response to that would be, "Why? Why do I need to look at Singapore? Why can't I look at some other countries whose model suits my idea of what is going to be a better nation uh,
Mm,
for all of us?" So when they say, look at that country, they're Islamic, and why can't we be Hindu? The response is, okay, so do you think they're doing a good thing by being an Islamic republic? Their answer can't be yes. If
yeah.
no, if your answer is yes, they're doing a good thing, then why do you have a problem with them? And if you think that they're doing something wrong, then why do you want to do the same thing?
Mm, exactly.
In both cases, it's a logically inconsistent position. You say
Mm,
that those people are bad, we should become like them.
mm,
It's a
mm,
logically inconsistent position. They can't, like, honestly, if someone was to have a conversation about this honestly, they cannot sustain it without resorting to fear mongering and all that, which is why
exactly.
a huge part of the right wing narrative that you're talking about, where genuine anxiety, it
Mm,
is being maintained through fear.
mm,
It is being maintained through fear. It's being maintained through a daily dose of fear.
mm. That's what I end up doing. Like I ask them, do you want to live in a secular country like America or Germany, which they already have been living, versus
Hmm.
Vatican City or Saudi Arabia? And they always say, no, I want to live in a secular country. Then why do you want to change India, the country I live
Exactly.
in? Why do you want to
That
change it into a religious
that that
country?
that old Chirkut who I was talking about a minute ago, he lives in America, which is a democracy. He enjoys all the privileges of being living in a free country, but he wants
Yes.
India to be not be a democracy. Yeah, as I mentioned in the last episode, had it not been the fact that his skin color was more or less the same as mine, this would be racism, right?
Correct. Mm,
When the Indian freedom movement approached the British and said we want to be self-governing, right? What was it they said? India cannot be democratic. India is too big, too wide. Your culture cannot support a democracy and all that. Up to the 60s and 70s, there were American scholars who were writing things like India cannot be a democracy, it cannot sustain it, etc., etc. But we did wonderfully well for quite some time until the present
yes.
dispensation came into being and shot it all to hell. But
Yeah.
this idea that India cannot be a democracy is a patently colonial idea, and it is being presented to us by brown sahibs living in America.
Mm, exactly. Yeah. But you feel like, is there anything we can do from our side to really help these people loosen up their anxiety a little bit? Like it's just
Talk,
um,
talk. Like, do what we are doing right now.
okay.
The conversation you're having with me, I hope other people have with you. Like, within
Mm,
reason, I'm sure it is more dangerous for you. Within reason, as far as possible, keeping yourself safe and keeping your mental health in check. Try to have conversations with people. And you know one good way of explaining power structures that I have found is that People always want to think of themselves as privileged people. Even like there are people who are genuinely victims. They
Yeah.
thinking of themselves as victims is logical, but privileged people who are really powerful always want to think of themselves as victims, because otherwise they cannot sustain the narrative that we are under attack. If you're
Mm.
powerful, how the duck doesn't matter how much attack you're facing, right? So I find it very useful to take the conversation into a context where they accept the power
Mm.
structure involved. For example, British people and Indian people during the freedom struggle. So
Mm.
if a British person was pretending to be a victim of freedom fighters, that won't make sense. And if you say this, they will get it.
Right.
So examples where they understand the power structure can be used to explain situations right now.
Mm. So that is where my next kind of question is about, especially with regard to this power structures, right? Like,
Hmm.
one thing I generally hear about this is, oh, if women get the power, they'll do exactly the same things that men do.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so maybe I'll just stop with that, and then I'll go back to the next one I want to ask you. Um,
uh, उसका तो ये है कि they like when someone says कि men attack women, if women get power they will attack men, and then they will cherry pick some examples of some injustice that happened
yeah,
to some man at the hand of some woman, and they'll use that as a general example. They fail to take into account that patriarchy is a thing,
exactly.
right? They
Mm,
assume that patriarchy and matriarchy are exactly the same thing with women
mm,
instead of men, right?
mm,
So
mm,
patriarchy has to be explained before that point can be explained.
mm. So, how would you define patriarchy? Because for a long time, it seems to me that patriarchy was defined as men holding power over women. And now I'm kind of noticing that, especially in upper class, upper caste, privileged women, social privilege, financial privilege, that kind of doesn't really work so much. So for me, patriarchy now seems like more along the lines of defining roles for a man and a woman.
Yeah, yeah.
So, so I usually talk about how patriarchy impacted me, and usually people ask me the same thing. Oh, you are from so like and I am privileged. I'm very aware of it. So then I kind of think about, yeah, I don't think any man had power over me in that sense. Any man could influence my life in such a
Hmm.
way, but there is a huge amount of expectation in the role that I need to fulfill as a mother, as a woman, as a
Yeah.
wife, or whatever that is. And so, how would you define
It's
patriarchy?
a thing that floats in the air, right? Like all around you. You
Mm,
may belong to a family which is extremely liberal and says, yeah, हमारी बेटी कॉलेज जाएगी, पढ़ेगी, जो मर्जी करियर परसू करना है करेगी. But in college, on the road, even at the office that you wanted to get to, that sense of expectations, that little bits of bias all over the place, it all
mm,
adds up to make patriarchy. So
mm.
uh, I could say that someone with a regressive family suffers from patriarchy more than someone with a liberal family. That would not be wrong,
Correct. Mm,
but it's not as if someone from a liberal family gets to bypass patriarchy altogether just because their family was super cool. It's everywhere. It's like if you want to understand, if someone wants to understand how patriarchy affects people, they will have to take into account the many manifestations of it spread all over society, including academic institutions, the street, uh,
mm,
the mall, advertising,
mm.
cinema,
Yes.
religion. It's everywhere.
Excellent
Yeah.
answer. That's what I have felt growing up, right?
Mm.
Because everywhere
Yeah.
my parents were extreme. Like there was no differentiation. I remember between me and my brother.
Mm.
I had foreign education and stuff like that, and my
Mm.
father funded the whole of it. But I still felt like I was different from my brother because of those messages I received from all these places that you're talking about,
Mm.
right? Like when I would go on the street, me and my brother would play cricket, and then a random neighborhood auntie would come and say, oh, "Why are you playing cricket? Women are not supposed to
Yeah.
play. Girls are not supposed to play
Yeah.
cricket." And people kind of miss out on how those things really add up to your.
Add up. Yeah. Imagine like on one day you can tell that auntie, duck off. I'll play whatever I want. The next
Yeah,
day you'll say auntie, duck off. The third day you'll say, yeah, auntie, फिर से करेगी. I'll not go. Right.
and it
And
will also
then
confuse me, right?
over a
And I
lifetime, it'll just add up.
yeah, and I start to question, really, am I not supposed to play? Like, am I
Yeah.
too tomboyish? Am I too rough? Like, it
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
messed up a lot of things. Did mess up with my self worth.
Yep.
And not to mention all the movies, right? Like Hum Saath Saath Hai and Hum Aapke Hai Kaun. Oh man, it had a huge like it.
There's such a
Really
dearth.
was
Like every time these days, someone like Marvel recently got some, female superheroes,
mm.
and now it is getting called MCU. And one
Oh,
time I wrote this thing like all throughout the 90s. every single damn action movie had this extremely muscular man with PTSD as a central character. Nobody
mm,
called it the, you know, Holly he would or something, Hall he
mm,
would. But
mm,
the moment that that archetype starts getting dismantled a little bit, and the
mm,
central character becomes uh, you know a woman or a girl or someone who is not a cisgendered person, it
mm,
all becomes, oh, civilization itself is being lost now, because
mm,
without
mm.
patriarchy everything will go down the drain.
I know, and that anxiety is also real, right? Like people having this anxiety of losing social order because a woman
Yeah,
chooses to work outside and
yeah,
leaves her
yeah.
child in the daycare. It's so real. Um, so yeah, along the same lines of power structures, like I keep hearing about how, oh, you don't want movies to make fun of transgenders, you don't want movies to objectify women, but you're okay with movies making fun of religions. um,
Hmm.
why is it like, so they kind of, I know that religion has a much bigger power structure and they kind of ignore that. But it does make me wonder, really, am I like kind of okay with it? I'm,
No,
am I
you'll be
making sense?
there are a bunch of kids on the roadside who are throwing rocks at all the animals that pass by.
Mm,
One of the animals is an elephant, and another animal is a mouse.
mm, mm,
Who are you
mm,
going to be more worried about,
mm,
right? The mouse can die because of a single rock. The elephant can take some. Sure, it's not the elephant's not. It's not like it's not going to experience pain. If the rocks are really small, it's actually might not. But
mm,
when we look at how much something affects someone, we have to look at how much power they have to fight it,
mm, mm,
emotionally, physically, socially, obviously.
mm. So, how does religion kind of exert power over the society? Like,
It's a little like, how do I put this? It's a bit general question, but when I say religion exerts power over society, what I mean is that religion is a thing that has its fingers in a lot of pies.
mm,
So sure, you go to a temple, church, mosque, you find a religion. Uh, I wake up at 5, and whenever I turn on the radio, I have to listen to a bhajan on a
mm,
government channel. I don't know why. And
mm, mm,
you turn on television, there are astrology
yeah,
experts telling you how your day is going to go. Your own family obviously will have several religious things spread out
mm,
throughout the day. And this, by the way, I'm not talking about any specific religion, I'm talking about all
mm,
families.
mm,
If someone is a non-believer in the religious family, they will notice it more than people who are so used to it than that they don't even notice it, right? So now we have political religion, where actual governmental policies are being made on the basis of religion.
mm,
Religion is getting into schools and colleges. You
mm,
ethics class में religious text पढ़ाओ, या religion is getting into science labs. The
mm.
evolution in America, the creationist movement is fucking up a lot of things. Sorry
Yeah,
about my language, but
of
it's
course.
it's saying कि actual verified evidence based science and medicine is
Mm,
bunk, because this book that is thousands of years old that I'm holding in my hand cannot be wrong. Do
mm,
you have evidence for it? No, I don't, and I don't care. This book cannot be wrong. So religion, I've said this before. I actually don't have a huge problem with people who choose to practice their religion in their own homes, right? Like, keep it in
mm,
your pants. You take it out and
exactly.
you shove it everywhere. It is
Mm,
not good for your own family, for you,
mm,
for the people who are around you, and definitely not for me, who doesn't even subscribe to your religion.
yeah. Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so, um, yeah, I think I kind of covered all my questions.
I have
Yeah,
three more people
yeah,
waiting
you
if
have, okay,
that's.
one last, can
Yeah.
I do one last question? So,
Cool, 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 cool. Go on.
I don't understand these people who strongly kind of subscribe to um, Hinduism, in the sense that, oh no, we got to send our kids to a Hindu-based school. We got to, um, like we can't encourage our children to go out of the country and study. We have to make them so nationalist that they have to be here, even if there are opportunities abroad. So there's too much of this, like, life decisions getting, like, I know someone who has stopped going trips abroad, even though they love traveling. They've stopped doing it because they want to like they want to be true to their country, so they want to just
Hmm.
see. And I'm like, why can't you do both? So anyway, so but this particular person that I'm talking about, they were Western clothing, like they wear jeans and t-shirt all the time. They work for an American company. They talk mostly in English everywhere.
Hmm.
So I just don't get this cognitive dissonance that I see with pretty much everyone around me is very similar like that. They
Yeah,
very
yeah.
pick and choose based on their convenience. Whenever they want to be, they want to follow, subscribe Hinduism, dharmic, or whatever they call it as, and then because wearing sherwani or whatever that is we wear in Karnataka, that is uncomfortable. So I'll choose to wear jeans and t-shirt.
Hmm.
So it's like, how do you explain that? Like, why do people? What is
It's
this
that
thing?
fear thing, right? It's that extremely judiciously maintained veil of fear all over society, where the
Mm,
fear is not only that your religion is in danger, your nation is in danger, your family is in danger because they're going to kill you, sharpen your
mm,
knives, that politician said.
yeah.
So it's that. It's and I
Mm,
think it may be an isolated example of the person you're talking about, because I don't know of anyone who is like,
mm,
my son got a job in America. I want him to stay in India and battle this economy. Everyone will happily
mm,
send their children over. This is at some point it ends up
mm.
just being rhetorical. Like, yeah, desh, desh, dharam, dharam, nahi, beta America jayega.
Yeah,
मतलब
that's what I have seen. I think this
तुम्हारे
person.
बच्चे सड़क पे उतार के मतलब तलवार लेके घूमो, मेरे
Mm,
बच्चे हार्वर्ड जाएंगे पढ़ाई करने के लिए ताकि लौट के मंत्री बन सके और फायदा उठा सके तुम्हारे बच्चों का. So
mm,
it's extremely it's very much a matter of privilege when
mm,
people talk about boycotting Videshi stuff, etc. It's
mm.
mostly hypocrisy.
Yeah. So would you say that power is the, like, when people say, oh, patriarchy is not the problem, power is the problem, or when they say, because sorry, I'm going back to a question I asked you
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah. I think I would. I think I would. Uh, but then again, it would be a slightly complicated question to answer, because I can't simply differentiate patriarchy and power in that way, because I
Mm,
do think that it is possible that power will corrupt even benign people. I do. I am not of the opinion that there is any ideology which, if it comes to power, will not get corrupted because certain people at the helm of it just don't want to let go of the power.
mm. That's an
I
interesting
think
perspective.
power is more the problem than anything else.
Hmm. Okay, but that doesn't mean we have to stop fighting for women rights or gender equality,
No, no,
right?
absolutely not. Always
Yeah.
fight for the powerless,
Yeah. What's your take
which is
on Jordan Peterson's stance on how, oh, women don't go after dangerous jobs, women only
he's
want to
in
become
he
CEO?
he needs help. I've spoken about him previously, and I'm of the opinion that that man needs help. So I
Mm,
try not to say so many things about him. He really needs help. It is
mm.
unkind to make fun of someone who needs help, so I will not talk about it if that's
Can you
okay with
just
you.
quickly answer just this one piece and then I'll end my call?
Which one?
Because
Which one?
that women don't go, don't are not fighting for their rights to go and fight a war, which men do. Women are not going and doing dangerous jobs as men
Yeah,
do.
but how many
Um,
men are doing it because they want to? And how many men are doing it because they've been programmed since childhood to think that that is their job,
oh, excellent point. Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
If you had a society where women were being programmed since childhood to think that they were soldiers, they would. We have had societies like that in history. Not too many, but there have been societies full of women warriors,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And they were also the product of their societies. It all boils down to what message, what stories you are telling your children. If you had a society where everyone was being told since childhood that all religion is bad, I would not be surprised if most people thought that atheism was a natural state of being,
Mm, mm.
right?
Really good point. And I'm a psychologist, right? So there's a very popular research that was conducted which showed that men were actively encouraged not to emote, because if
Yeah,
you encouraged men to emote, who would pick up
yeah,
the guns and go fight wars? So it is
exactly.
a huge programming thing.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Thank you so much, Vimoh. This was a really nice conversation.
Thank you, Sidhu. This was actually quite a fun conversation. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
thanks. Bye.
Chalo. Bye bye. See you soon. Right. So before I move on to the next person, there is Hamza and then there is AM. AM, I know you look impatient. I can see your face, but Hamza pehle, uske baad you, it's you. Okay, cool. Uh, Before I proceed, let me just thank some super chats. Milin, thank you for the 220 rupee super sticker. Super chat. I always confuse super sticker and super chat. Thank you for the 220 rupees. He says, Vimo, keep going, bro. Darshak, kripya bhau ko support kare. With you, bro, always. Thank you, Milid. Much appreciated. Then there is Chikur Chuchumb Baba 420 who sent 110 rupees. He says, how would you answer to pro Khalistan people that why legal action on us, whereas people talk openly about making India Hindu Rashtra? If a person from a Khalistan supporting group came and asked me that, I would answer that question. I don't think you are. My short answer is that I have written about this in the last year. If we create a society where religion becomes the parameter for deciding uh, things like justice and equality, if one religion does it, then people from that religion can't honestly blame other people for doing the same. Religion is poison. If you pour poison into your society, then don't be surprised when other people do it. It's wrong, but they will do it. You are not the only person who gets to do it and get away with it. So, yeah, Chikur Chuchum sends another 110 and says there are news from Nepal about Hindu-Muslim tension increasing day by day. Some people claim from people from UP, Bihar. It's a completely hearsay. Uh, I don't know what kind of answer I can give to that. It's like you're saying, पता है वहाँ पे ना वो हो रहा है और सुनने में आया कि ये इस वजह से हो रहा है. There is no evidence for it. How do I react to it? Facty, thank you for the Facty. Thank you for the 22 rupees. Okay. For a second that looked like a dollar sign. Thank you for the 22 rupees Facty. Thank you. Chikur Chuchum then says, year 2007-8 at Pune, I used to listen to Radio Mirchi in early morning for warm up before workout, but suddenly they started broadcasting bhajans in the morning. पता नहीं रेडियो वो तो फिर भी प्राइवेट रेडियो चैनल है मैं सरकारी चैनल्स की बात कर रहा हूँ वो लोग क्यों दिखाते रहते हैं भजन Rajat sends $1. Thank you, Rajat. Much appreciated. And with that, I'll move on to the next caller, which is Hamza. Hi, Hamza.
हाय विमो
Hey, what's up?
अभी मैं बुक पढ़ा था एक
कौन सी?
उसने गांधी को क्यों मारा भाई अशोक कुमार पांडे
ओके हाँ
तो मेरा जैसे अभी जो प्रीवियस कॉलर मैम बात कर रही थी मेरा एक क्वेश्चन था उससे रिलेटेड कि हमें ज्यादा एज अ फेमिनिस्ट हमें ज्यादा फोकस किस पे करना चाहिए इक्वल राइट्स या लिबरेशन फ्रॉम पेट्रियार्की से क्योंकि आई नो
इक्वल राइट्स
बोथ आर कनेक्टेड लेकिन लिबरेशन लेना ज्यादा जरूरी है क्योंकि मान लीजिए एक कंपनी है उसने 2 लड़कों 2 लड़कियों को जॉब ऑफर किया विद इक्वल पे एंड सब कुछ इक्वल बट उसके घर वालों ने मना कर दिया लड़की को तो एक टाइप से ये पेट्रियार्की हुई घर वालों की साइड से लेकिन इक्वालिटी वो कंपनी की साइड से आ रही थी तो यहाँ मेन इशू इज पेट्रियार्की लिबरेशन
हाँ तो जो पेट्रियार्की जो चीज़ है ना उसको हम ऐसे नहीं देख सकते कि कंपनी की पेट्रियार्की और घर की पेट्रियार्की इज अ वाइडर प्रॉब्लम जिसके साथ हो रहा होता है वो देख नहीं सकता कि पेट्रियार्की नहीं मैं पेट्रियार्की के खिलाफ हूँ पर मुझे ये देखना होगा पेट्रियार्की मेरे घर से आ रही है या मेरे ऑफिस से आ रही है अगर ऑफिस ने इक्वल बिहेवियर किया जैसे अभी थोड़ी देर पहले मैंने कहा ना अगर तुम एक लिबरल ब्रॉड माइंडेड फैमिली से हो उसका मतलब ये नहीं कि तुमको पेट्रियार्की से जूझना नहीं पड़ेगा राइट इस केस में तुम्हारा जो एग्जांपल है वो फ्लिप्ड है यहाँ पे घर रिग्रेसिव है और ऑफिस लिबरल है बट पेट्रियार्की रिमेन्स राइट
ठीक है समझ गया और एक और क्वेश्चन था एक मैंने कोई रील देखा था उसमें एक पता नहीं कौन बंदा है राइट विंग इंटेलेक्चुअल टाइप कोई है तो उसका एक था कि किसी भी मुस्लिम्स भी काफी जो रिलीजियस मुस्लिम बोलते हैं कि अगर तुम रिलीजियस प्लेसेस पे सेकुलर लॉजिक नहीं लगा सकते जैसे तुम सेकुलर प्लेसेस पे रिलीजियस लॉजिक नहीं लगा सकते तो उसमें कोई पॉइंट नहीं बनता ना कि तुम रिलीजियस जैसे
the only place where you can apply secular logic is religious places और कहाँ लगाओगे the only reason secularism exists is to remove the influence of religion religious places को ऐसा स्पेशल एम्बेसी बन जाना जहाँ पे तुम सेक्युलर लॉजिक नहीं लगा सकते एक बकवास आइडिया है सेक्युलरिज्म का काम ही है रिलीजियस इन्फ्लुएंस को घटाना
ओके और एक और था जैसे एक कोई पॉप सिंगर था तो वो पहले वो अपने आप को आइडेंटिफाई करता था एज अ मेल राइट नाउ ही इज कंफ्यूज्ड कि वो क्या है ठीक है तो फिर लोगों का मतलब मैंने कमेंट्स देखे तो कि जब भी कोई अवार्ड सेरेमनी होगी तो उसको अवार्ड मिलना होगा तो उसको किसके अंडर अवार्ड मिलना चाहिए लाइक बेस्ट सिंगर मेल और बेस्ट सिंगर फीमेल और व्हाट तो मतलब उसको किसके अंडर उसको किस कैटेगरी में आएगा फिर वो अगर उसको अवार्ड मिलना हो
ओके
मुझे
क्या पूछ रहे हो
तो मुझे यही पूछना था अगर मान लीजिए कोई सिंगर है
अच्छा हाँ
लाइक ही डोंट नो
मुझे तो लगता है कि अवार्ड्स में ये मेल और फीमेल कैटेगरी होनी नहीं चाहिए खाली बेस्ट सिंगर रखो
लेकिन फीमेल कैटेगरी आई है इसलिए कि फीमेल को ज्यादा रिप्रेजेंटेशन मिले
गॉट दैट बट
तो फिर से वापस उसी में चले जाए कि
आई थिंक यू कैन आस्क द पर्सन भैया तुम किस कैटेगरी में हो?
अगर उसका ये रहा कि मुझे किसी कैटेगरी में ना रखो, तब
तो फिर उसको किसी भी कैटेगरी में मत रखो, उसके काम को वैसे ही वैल्यूएट करो जैसे वो चाहता है या चाहती है। आई मीन आई थिंक दे आर स्टिल अनडिसाइडेड इन योर एग्जांपल, सो
इसके
इवन आई शुड।
इसके तरीके से एडवांटेज मिल गया, जैसे मान लीजिए 10 मेल्स हैं 10 फीमेल्स हैं एंड 1 to 2 आर देयर जिनको आइडिया नहीं अभी, तो अवार्ड्स मिलने हैं, तो उनमें 10 में कंपटीशन है, उनमें सिर्फ 2 में कंपटीशन है।
देन द अवार्ड सेरेमनी शुड हैव अ कैटेगरी फॉर नॉन बाइनरीज,
ओके, कूल।
राइट? It's not rocket science. Like this is probably one of the least important questions in my mind. और मुझे उन फैंस के ऊपर तरस आता है जिनके लाइफ में और कोई काम धाम नहीं है, जो बैठ के ये सोच रहे हैं इसको अवार्ड किस कैटेगरी में मिलना चाहिए, क्या करना है, अपने जिंदगी के प्रॉब्लम सुधारो। वो व्यक्ति एक एग्जिस्टेंशियल चीज से गुजर रहा है,
तब से मेरे पास
उसको
इंस्टा पे
डिसाइड
ऐसी ऐसी ही
क्या।
रील्स आ रही हैं, इस टाइप की
हाँ
रील्स आ रही है। जैसे एक रील था तो उसमें प्रोनाउंस के बारे में था, तो एक कोई आई डोंट नो
यार,
कोई
लंबी लॉन्ग फॉर्म कंटेंट सुनो, शॉर्ट्स तुम्हारे दिमाग शॉर्ट सर्किट कर देंगे। खाली तुमको नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, मैं जनरली बोल रहा हूँ। यूट्यूब का गर्त में जाने का वन ऑफ द रीजंस, यूट्यूब कंटेंट का टॉक्सिक होने का वन ऑफ द रीजंस इज शॉर्ट फॉर्म कंटेंट।
हम्म
नुआंस किसी की समझ में नहीं आती, क्योंकि हर बात 60 सेकंड में चाहिए, और 60 सेकंड के अंदर जो लिमिट करने का पॉइंट है ना, का जो कंपल्शन है, उसकी वजह से कई बार आर्ग्यूमेंट को इतना ज़्यादा अब्रीविएट किया जाता है कि वो बेमतलब हो जाते हैं, या तो उनका मतलब भी बदल जाता है। शॉर्ट फॉर्म कंटेंट अवॉइड करने का कोई तरीका नहीं है, पर जहाँ तक संभव है, पॉडकास्ट सुनो, लॉन्ग फॉर्म कंटेंट सुनो, लाइव स्ट्रीम सुनो,
हम्म
इन डेप्थ डिस्कशन सुनो, उनसे ज़्यादा अंडरस्टैंडिंग मिलेगी। शॉर्ट फॉर्म कंटेंट से कुछ नहीं मिलेगा।
या तो
हम्म।
मेरे पास 2 क्वेश्चंस बाकी हैं। तो
ओके।
एक और था कि एक पूरा काफ़ी बड़ा वीडियो था, उसमें भी कोई राइट विंग इंटेलेक्चुअल था, ऐसे ही मेरा मन किया देखने को, देख लिया मैंने। तो
हम्म।
उसमें उसने उस पे कास्ट पे क्वेश्चन पूछा कि कास्ट हमेशा से थी क्यों, तो ये टाइप की खराब चीज़ है।
हम्म।
तो उसमें उसने बोला, लाइक मैं पूरा सेम वर्ड बोल रहा हूँ, लाइक इफ अकॉर्डिंग टू यू सोसाइटी वाज डिवाइडेड ऑन कास्ट लाइंस, देन हु डू यू थिंक वाज फाइटिंग द मुगल्स एंड एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा। एंड जो भी लोग मना करते थे कि मैं तुम्हारे साथ लड़ाई नहीं करूंगा कि तुम ब्राह्मण हो या तुम क्षत्रिय हो, वो तब हुआ जब ब्रिटिश आए या उसके बाद आए, तो उनकी वजह से ये हुआ। और इस पर उसने एक एग्जाम्पल दिया कि महाराणा प्रताप ने जब वॉर लड़ी थी, तो वो
हम्म।
जो आदिवासी कल्चर के वहाँ थे, भीड़ एंड मैं किसी का नाम भूल गया एक का, तो वो उनके साथ लड़ाई की थी, लेकिन उन भीड़ लोगों ने मना नहीं किया कि तुम क्षत्रिय हो तो मैं तुम्हारे साथ लड़ाई नहीं करूंगा। तो
इसका
मुझे
क्या
समझ,
मतलब है?
हाँ
इसका
तो
क्या
मुझे यही
मतलब है? पॉइंट ये है कि अ, मेरे घर पे, लाइक देयर इज अ हाउस, राइट, जहाँ पे पेट्रियार्की बहुत तगड़ी है और वहाँ की औरतों को बहुत दबा के रखा जाता है। उस घर पे एक दिन डाकू लोग आए। क्या उसका ये मतलब है कि औरतें डाकुओं के साथ मिल जाएंगी, या औरतें डाकुओं के साथ लड़ेंगी नहीं, या औरतों को अगर मौका मिलेगा तो वो डाकुओं का सिर नहीं फोड़ेंगी? डाकुओं के प्रति औरतों का क्या अप्रोच होता है, उससे इस बात के ऊपर थोड़ी भी लाइट नहीं पड़ती कि उस घर में कितनी पेट्रियार्की है,
हाँ
राइट? There
हम्म
is there is casteism, then there is
हम्म
the freedom struggle. The British who come in treat all Indians equally and oppress them all equally, so everyone fights,
हम्म
right? But and even by the way, there are people who have said that there are people from so-called backward castes who have said that I would not fight with these people. There have been examples like that also.
हम्म
Like the actual examples are slipping my mind, but there have been leaders who say that I want no part of your freedom struggle. I fight to save my tribe. There have been people like that. So इस आर्ग्यूमेंट का कोई मतलब ही नहीं है। तुम एक
And जिसने ये
कॉमन
आर्गुमेंट दिया
पुराने
था, ये
एनिमी को इस्तेमाल करके इस बात को डिनाई नहीं कर सकते कि डिस्क्रिमिनेटरी सोसाइटी एक रियलिटी थी।
and जिसने ये आर्गुमेंट दिया था, ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जज था, मतलब तभी मैंने सोचा देख लेता हूँ क्या है पूरा वीडियो। मुझे तो नाम याद नहीं आ रहा, बिल्कुल दिमाग से निकल गया ना।
ओके।
एंड मेरी लास्ट चीज़ था, मुझे ये इसका कॉन्सेप्ट समझ नहीं आता प्रोनाउंस का, कि मतलब किसको किस हिसाब से मिलता है, मतलब कैसे चूज करते हैं लोग, तो कैन यू प्लीज एक्सप्लेन इट मुझे इन जस्ट
People
1 or 2?
decide if they want to be called a he or a she or a they or a them, and they tell others that this is what I want to be called, and people call them that.
तो लोग खुद से भी बना सकते हैं, मतलब कुछ
खुद
नया
से ही
प्रोनाउंस,
बनाते हैं, और क्या होता है?
लाइक
मैं इसलिए ही
हाँ
और हिम कहा जाता हूँ, क्योंकि मैं
हम्म,
चाहता हूँ कि मुझे ही और हिम कहा जाए। फॉर्च्यूनेटली मेरा बायोलॉजिकल सेक्स और मेरा साइकोलॉजिकल सेक्स एक ही है। मतलब वहाँ पे जो जो जेंडर मुझे जन्म के समय असाइन किया गया था, मैं उसी जेंडर के साथ आइडेंटिफ़ाई करता हूँ। कुछ लोग ऐसे हैं जिनको
हम्म,
जन्म के समय जो जेंडर असाइन किया गया था, बड़े होने के बाद या कुछ सालों बाद उन्हें लगने लगा कि वो नहीं है। और वो लोगों से कहने लगे मैं लड़का नहीं हूँ, मैं लड़की हूँ, या मैं लड़की नहीं हूँ, मैं लड़का हूँ, मुझे आज से लड़का बोलो। मेरी समझ में ये नहीं आता कि लोगों को ये बोलने में क्या तकलीफ होती है।
हाँ।
कोई चाहता है उसको लड़का बोल, तो बोल दे भाई, तेरे क्या जाता है? इतना बड़ा हो हल्ला करने की क्या ज़रूरत है?
तो इसी पे मैं एक स्टैंड अप कॉमेडी देख रहा था, तो उसमें मुझे तो उसने बोला कि फ्रॉम नाउ माय प्रोनाउंस आर हॉटेस्ट बॉय ऑन द प्लैनेट। तो प्लीज मुझे ऐसे बुलाओ।
नहीं, नहीं,
मुझे
ये
सही
तो
लगा कि
ये एक
सही
और
है।
चीज़ भी है ना, कई लोग जो कि ट्रांसफोबिक जोक्स मारते हैं या वगैरह-वगैरह,
हुँ,
वो मतलब ट्रांस पीपल के लिए प्रोनाउंस बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है।
हाँ,
क्योंकि ऐसी स्टडीज़ हुई हैं जिनसे ये पता चला है कि अगर कोई बच्चा अपने आप अ, अगर कोई जेंडर नॉन कन्फर्मिंग है, मतलब जो
हुँ,
जेंडर उन्हें कहा गया जन्म के समय वो उसके साथ आइडेंटिफ़ाई नहीं करते, पर उनके कहने के बावजूद उनको पूरी ज़िंदगी उसी जेंडर के नाम से बुलाया गया, तो उनके ऊपर बहुत साइकोलॉजिकल प्रभाव पड़ता है।
सुसाइडल
र
ज़्यादा होता है उन पे,
हाँ, और सुसाइड रेट भी
पर्सनली।
हाई होता है
हुँ,
इसी वजह से, क्योंकि उनको वो दे कांट बी देमसेल्व्स इन सोसाइटी। और ये जो
हुँ,
प्रॉब्लम है, ये तुम्हारी और मेरी समझ में भी नहीं आती, क्योंकि
हाँ,
वी आर लाइक ये क्या है? जेंडर तो जेंडर होता है। जैसे एक साइंस फिक्शन नॉवल पढ़ा था कुछ साल पहले, जहाँ पे ये कुछ लोग एक स्पेसशिप बना के अपने बगल वाले प्लैनेट पे जाने की कोशिश कर रहे थे, पर एक एलियन आया और बोला, "पर हवा में साँस कैसे लोगे वहाँ पे?" वो बोले, "हवा में साँस कैसे लेंगे? हवा तो हवा होती है।" लाइक दे डिडन्ट अंडरस्टैंड दैट एयर कैन बी मेड अप ऑफ डिफरेंट केमिकल्स एंड दे कैन डाई व्हेन दे गो देयर, राइट? सो
हुँ,
कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स हैं जो हमारे लिव्ड एक्सपीरियंस से इतनी ज़्यादा रिमूव्ड हैं कि हमें समझ भी नहीं आती कि ये एक प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है। पर ट्रांस लोगों को जेंडर आइडेंटिटी के मामले में वो प्रॉब्लम होती है। और जब
हुँ,
वो लोग प्रोनाउंस को एक इश्यू बनाते हैं, तो कई लोग हँस के उड़ा देते हैं और कहते हैं कि
हुँ,
हाँ, 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 इसको ही हिम चाहिए। मैं आज से मेरा प्रोनाउन है अ, फलाना ढिमकाना, कुछ तो बोल देगा। और मुझे लगता है कि ये जोक, लाइक इफ अ ट्रांस पर्सन इज हर्ट बाय दिस जोक, विल
हुँ,
यू बी
तब
रियली सरप्राइज्ड?
हुँ,
या दैट्स द पॉइंट।
हुँ, ठीक है, इतना ही तो पूछना था। हाँ, बस लास्ट थिंग था, मुझे कुछ इंस्टा पेजेस पूछना था,
हुँ,
एथीस्ट जो पहले मुस्लिम थे, एक्स मुस्लिम एथीस्ट, आपको
हुँ,
आइडिया हो तो? क्योंकि मेरे पास है
हुँ।
नहीं, अगर आइडिया हो तो बता दो, मैं फॉलो कर
नहीं
लूँगा।
यार, मैं इंस्टाग्राम पे एक्चुअली बहुत दिन से ज़्यादा एक्टिव नहीं हूँ। इंस्टाग्राम पे मतलब तुमको पता होगा, मैंने कहा था मैं इंस्टाग्राम पे कुछ कंटेंट पोस्ट कर रहा था, पर मेरा माय अकाउंट केम लाइक दिस क्लोज टू बीइंग डिलीटेड। सो
हुँ,
मैं इंस्टाग्राम पे काफ़ी सेफ रह रहा हूँ। मैं इंस्टाग्राम पे लॉगिन करता हूँ अपने दूसरे काम को प्रमोट करने के लिए, और अगर
हुँ,
कोई मैसेज भेजता है तो उसको देखने के लिए। बट उसके अलावा मैं इंस्टाग्राम पे कुछ खास कर नहीं रहा हूँ अभी। और वैसे भी इंस्टाग्राम पे इतने ज़्यादा फेक अकाउंट है ना,
हुँ,
कोई अपने आप को एक्स मुस्लिम, उस दिन कोई आके मैंने मैंने हिंदू धर्म के बारे में कुछ लिखा, उसके नीचे किसी ने आके कमेंट दिया गुस्से में, यूट्यूब पे एक्चुअली, और उसका बायो में लिखा था एक्स मुस्लिम। मैं बोला भाई तुझे क्यों तकलीफ हो रही है? एक्स मुस्लिम मतलब डिड यू लीव इस्लाम एंड गो इनटू हिंदुइज्म, बिकॉज़ दैट डज़न्ट मेक मच सेंस टू मी। इफ यू आर एन एथिस्ट आई अंडरस्टैंड, बट तुझे इस बात से क्यों तकलीफ हो रही है कि मैं हिंदू धर्म के बारे में कुछ बोल रहा हूँ? सो इंस्टाग्राम पे ऐसे कई अकाउंट हैं जो एक्स मुस्लिम लिखते हैं पर असल में हिंदुत्व अकाउंट्स होते हैं। तो थोड़ा समझ के।
ठीक है।
ठीक
और
है।
लास्ट चीज़ ये थे कि एक
लास्ट चीज़,
विवेक।
पिछले 3 पॉइंट तुम्हारे लास्ट चीज़ थे। मेक श्योर
बस
दिस
एक
इज़
और
द लास्ट पॉइंट।
5 सेकंड बस बोलूँगा कि एक
हाँ।
विवेक अग्निहोत्री का इंटरव्यू हुआ था न्यूज़ लॉन्ड्री के साथ। न्यूज़
हाँ,
लॉन्ड्री के
उन्होंने फ्री कर
वो
दिया उसको आज। हाँ,
हाँ, वो बहुत अच्छा है, मतलब
अच्छा।
समझ जाएँगे विवेक अग्निहोत्री कितना
मैं
वो
उस
है,
आदमी को 1
कैच।
सेकंड भी नहीं देखना चाहता था। आई एम श्योर इट्स फनी। आई होप एवरीवन हू वॉचेस इट लाफ्स अ लॉट, बट आई विल नॉट बी वाचिंग इट। आई लव
ठीक है।
न्यूज़ लॉन्ड्री, बट आई
हाँ,
कैन नॉट स्टैंड विवेक अग्निहोत्री।
एक्चुअली जो इंटरव्यू ले रहा था वो भी आते टाइम हँसता ही रहा उसकी बातें सुन।
अच्छा, अच्छा।
ओके, कूल।
कूल।
थैंक यू।
थैंक यू हमज़ा। बाय-बाय। राइट। So before I move on to AM, Harsh, thank you for the 440 rupees super sticker. Much appreciated, sir. And everyone else, you can support the show by clicking the join button below and becoming a member, or sending a super chat just like Harsh did right now. Thank you. The next caller is AM. Hi, AM.
Hey,
Hey.
sorry, first off, I have resting impatient face, so you may have caught that.
No, no, that's okay. That's okay. It was like this big on my screen, so I may have jumped to some conclusions.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so Vimoh, I grew up in South India, Christian family. I've been kept very much in a bubble my entire life, right? They like I've been exposed to a lot of Western media, Western philosophy, that sort of
Okay.
stuff. I'm trying to find out, and when I have conversations with people from Hindu backgrounds or Jain backgrounds, I sometimes find disconnects in terms of how philosophy is understood, Eastern versus Western, right? I'm an atheist, but like I still enjoy having these conversations,
Oh yeah,
right?
absolutely. Same here.
And I was curious about whether Western philosophy cannot be applied to Eastern religions. I'll just list the points first. Can it be applied to Eastern religions? Um, am I missing something in Eastern religions, that in Eastern philosophy, that is like a blind spot for me? And third, why is it difficult to like have these cross philosophy conversations?
I'll answer the last one first. The reason it is difficult is because these conversations have not been had for the most part. Um, we have had people writing books from the Eastern point of view, and those books have been read and understood by people in the West. They've been understood through the Western lens. So whenever we talk about understanding the East through Western philosophy or understanding the West through Eastern philosophy, there are bound to be large gaps in our understanding, because the subjective nature of the people who are doing the investigations comes into play, and what we end up with is a bit of a hodgepodge. So in matters of philosophy, I don't think it is possible to have a supremely objective version of supremely objective understanding. There are people from the West who have come to India, settled here, and made it their way of life, and through their lived experience have gained an understanding of Indian philosophy. There are people in India who have gone over to the West, and living in the West, understanding West through Christian culture or whatever, they have gained an understanding of the West. I largely think that if a person from the West decides to come to India, live a few years to understand Eastern philosophy and go away, they will not have the full understanding, because philosophy at the end of the day is also a function of lived experience, right? So when someone from the West comes and says that, so I lived in India for 5 years, I lived in this ashram and I talked to that guru. Congratulations, you understood probably 1% of it or less of it. And philosophy is such a wide spanning thing that I don't even know if it's possible to say about anyone at all that they understand it. Sure, you can take up one discipline, one subject, one slice of history, and gain an understanding of it and write works based on that understanding. But I don't think a full understanding of the kind that we aspire to is even possible.
Mhm.
As for the rest, where you say, what are you missing? I don't know how far you have understood or investigated things. So I won't know what you're talking about when you say, what are you missing? What was your first question?
First question is, can I not apply Western philosophy to Eastern concepts? Is it
I think you
an
can.
error?
It's not an error. It's like saying, can I look at a red flower through a blue glass? If the goal is to find out the actual color of the flower, then you can't by looking it through a blue glass. You have to look at it in natural light. If the goal is to wonder what will the red flower look like if I look at it through a blue glass, then sure, that's a great method. Look at it through a blue glass. I don't think there is anything wrong, because who the duck is making these rules? Like, who says you can't do this and can't do that? That is partly what we refer to as Brahmanism, right? A certain class of people saying that our way of looking at these things is more valid than other ways of looking at things. That is how you get to the point where you ban books written about the Ramayana, because you say Ramayana cannot be looked at from any point of view other than the one that Valmiki left us or
Mhm.
Tulsidas left us. I'm a huge fan of cultural mixing, but I just want to point out that understanding power structures should probably be a part of it, because cultural appropriation can someone takes a virulent form.
Can I offer an example, and maybe you can tell me like where I'm going wrong here?
Sure.
So I was having a conversation about truth, right? And the way I've been exposed to it is, truth is that which is, right, which happens to be like, I have this concept because of exposure to Western philosophy,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
truth is what comports to reality, right?
Hmm.
Um, Now, when I speak to some Hindu people, I tend to encounter this concept of everyone has a subjective truth.
Hmm.
When I feel like maybe everyone has a subjective experience aligns a little bit more. Am I missing something there?
No, I'm not a huge fan of the fact that truth is what is, because
Mm,
if by that someone means that what is just is and does not change at all, then I disagree, because it changes. Uh, Hold on. So AM is the last caller for today. I'm not going to take any more callers after this. So everyone in the queue, if I'm removing you, don't add yourself back, because I don't have time. AM के बाद और लोग नहीं आ पाएंगे आज. Sorry about this. Maybe you can come in the next episode. हाँ. AM. So I had made a video about the illusion of eternal truth,
mhm.
right? And if time itself is going to be thought of as something that had a beginning and will presumably have an end, and the entire universe goes through changes throughout the duration of what we know as time, then there is probably no such thing as eternal truth.
Mhm.
So that is
Follow.
my position on the matter. Other philosophers may differ, and yeah, I understand that the Western philosophical position on truth is that there is some kind of objective reality. My position is that if there is, we don't know it, and
Yeah.
therefore, if there is, we don't know it. We can't know it, and therefore, we should stop claiming that we have that answer.
Uh, okay. Let me try rephrasing a little bit.
Okay.
Um, the specific conversation came up when someone says, "Yeah, that can be true," and the contradictory position can also be true.
Hmm.
And for me, that was a little bit confusing because, the things you hold to in Western logic and philosophy are non-contradiction, excluded middle. You
Like,
know,
in what context were they talking? Like, can you flesh this example out a little bit?
God can exist and God cannot exist.
Oh, okay, okay. Like, the person who said this was a theist.
Yes.
Okay. I love writing fantasy. So this is a lot of fun for me. Like, does God exist? Sure, when he wants to. So this sounds to be in the same vein as that.
Okay, okay. No, fair point. Thanks, Vimoh. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I appreciate your input. I am curious about one thing though. I tuned in about 2 weeks ago
Hmm.
when you were having a conversation about reservations, and I am
Hmm.
like you, fully in support of reservations. I
Hmm.
guess my question is, how can we improve the system altogether to make it so that we need reservations less and less, and then how do we phase it out? I know it's a complicated question, but
I
uh,
think the way is reservations. Like,
hmm,
you have reservations in society until you don't need them. Until you have an equitable society, the people who don't have enough need to be given the resources to build the life for themselves that they want, because if those resources are not given to them, the journey to that place becomes practically impossible for many of them. Not all, but not many of them. So, in or like, if I use a fantasy example, if there's a town and there are people who don't have the kind of respect that a certain class of people have
mhm,
in the aristocratic class, for example, then
mhm.
you make it possible for people from that background to get to the aristocratic class until such time as the distinction between these people and that people stops existing in the minds of most people, until such time as the discriminatory practices cannot come back because everyone has forgotten about them.
um, are there perhaps supplementary ways to achieve this in addition to something like reservation,
Such
um,
as,
such as maybe improving the quality of government, like
oh,
private
absolutely,
education
go,
is significantly higher than like
yeah, yeah, goes
government
side by
education.
side, right? That all
Hmm.
goes side by side with reservation. Yeah. Like,
Okay.
our education system is a shit show.
Garbage. Yeah.
Everyone goes through it, regardless of caste. Everyone comes out of the other end a ducking idiot. And the people who manage to make something of their life are either extraordinarily brilliant or have a lot of social, cultural, financial capital.
Hmm. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Nope. Thank you, Vimoh. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time.
Thank you, AM. Good conversation. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Resting impatient face, apparently. Good calls. Barnali, thank you for the 110 rupees super sticker. Are we born atheists or can one be raised an atheist like one is raised theist? And why Hindus call themselves Sanatanis? I'll answer the first one, second one first. I don't know why I keep doing that. Sanatan means eternal. Hindus, like every other religion, believe that their religion began at the beginning of time. So the way of life that they talk about, they believe to be eternal and timeless. Muslims also believe this, Christians also believe this. Everyone believes that their religion is somehow a fundamental part of reality, and that is why Hindus call themselves Sanatanis, because the phrase that they want to refer to their religion as is Sanatan Dharma. But of course, that is like if you go to any government form and you look for a religion name, you won't find Sanatan Dharma there. You will find Hinduism. So Hindus don't like to like the Hindus who like to say that my religion is a way of life, it's not a religion. They like to say that it's Sanatan Dharma. My response to that usually is that you're a Hindu, just accept it. Because if you write Sanatan Dharma in a Sarkari forum, nobody will pay any attention to that. Second question, are we born atheists or can one be raised an atheist like one is raised theist? It is certainly possible to raise children as atheists, just as people are raised theists. I don't know if we are born atheists because a child has no beliefs. A child is born 99% blank slate into the world. The child does come with certain genetic behavioral tendencies that it gets genetically from its parents and other members of the family whose genes may have gotten to it laterally or diagonally or spirally. See what I did there? Spiral genetics, DNA strand. No. But a child is mostly a blank slate, and a child has no beliefs. A child has proclivities towards certain kinds of behavior. So some people might be more likely to believe things. Some people might be more likely to be skeptical. It depends on a whole host of factors, including factors that have nothing to do with genetics. If a child is extremely gullible but is brought up by parents and a family who are extremely critical in thinking, then that child might end up being irreligious. But if a child is extremely skeptical but is brought up in a family where religion is very important, then that child might end up being a believer despite being a skeptical person until later in life when their skepticism kind of gets in the way. So, yeah, that would be my answer to that. Barnali, thank you for the good question. Uh, Barnali sent another 66 rupee का super sticker. Thank you, Barnali. Much appreciated. और किसी ने कुछ भेजा क्या? No, that's it. So, अभी मेरे पास 5 minutes हैं. I'm going to read some comments. Harsh says, before independence, many princely kingdoms were Hindu Rashtras, but we still had social evils like Sati, Sahagamana, and needed reformers like Raja Ram Mohan Rai to get rid of them. Can they guarantee that this won't happen again? Wasn't it because of religion? Half the people who say Hindu Rashtra, Hindu Rashtra, Hindu Rashtra don't know what a Hindu Rashtra means. Whenever someone wants to have a conversation about a Hindu Rashtra, my general response, like I told Sindhu, would be that, what do you mean by it? In what way do you think this will manifest in reality? The country that we live in right now, the lives that you and I are living in right now, in what way will it change if India becomes a Hindu Rashtra? Are you only talking about a label change? In that case, it's useless. Are you saying politics and religion should change? In that case, what changes do you want? So yeah, it will go from that. Just Hindu Rashtra is a meaningless, like, डिबेट का टॉपिक दे दिया पर ये नहीं बताया कि टॉपिक का मतलब क्या है. इट्स लाइक हैविंग अ डिबेट अबाउट वेदर गिड़गिड़ाबुन इज अ गुड फूड आइटम और नॉट. फर्स्ट टेल मी व्हाट अ गिड़गिड़ाबुन इज. आई हैव नेवर हर्ड ऑफ इट बिफोर. Sohan says, just because someone is from the same race doesn't mean that they can't be racist towards their own race. So I think he was indeed racist in saying that. I don't think he was being racist towards his own race. He's someone who left India to live in America and gyan jhadu about how Indians should live while living in a secular democracy. So yeah, but yeah, good point. Good point. Amit, thank you for being a member. Amit says, I like to think of patriarchy as the system that exists that provide men an advantage over women. A simple example would be the cost of feminine hygiene products. Yeah. It prioritizes male needs over female needs. and it reinforces that system by communicating to women constantly that their needs are less important than the needs of men and boys. Um, Harsh says religion is small issue adding up into big issue over the course of time because of the long time and generations. It seems normal, but it is not. Atheism is the one that needs normalization. Yeah. Harsh says the best way that I see is like what Vimoh says: talk with people, ask questions, what keeps them thinking. Only once they think will they start to get it. Yeah, but also change. I think it is almost impossible to change people. The only thing that will change someone is if they want to change. So don't be disheartened if you tell people good reasons, give people good reasons for changing behaviors, and they still don't change. At the end of the day, people only change because they want to. That's it. Hmm. 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 Golu. Hi, Golu. Golu is my nephew. Golu has sent me $1.99. Thanks, Golu. आई एम हियर फर्स्ट यस यस यूर ऑलवेज फर्स्ट गोलू मेरे कमेंट थ्रेड में आके हमेशा बोलता है फर्स्ट अगर वो 30वीं 30th पोजीशन पे होता है ना तो भी बोलता है फर्स्ट सो गोलू इज इटर्नली फर्स्ट nobody in my comments can ever be first. Golu is always first. You guys can say second because that position is free, but Golu कभी भी आए वो हमेशा first ही रहेगा. Bhupendra says love you bro, heart 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 heart. Thank you Bhupendra. Tam says more number of prisoners are religious than irreligious. What do you infer from this statistic, sir? I don't know, Tam. What do you infer from it? I think it means that more prisoners are religious, and that religion, having a certain religion, does not prevent one from being bad or committing crimes. Although prison statistics ko leke, I also want to point out that you can say that most people in prison are poor. Does that mean poor people are morally bad and compared to rich people? No, it simply means that rich people tend to find it easier to get away from punishments for their crimes. Amit says, I love Gidgida Bun. Golu says, I am Golgala Bun. Okay. Right. Uh, Hemfu says, Vimo, please upload weekly videos on your main channel. Hemfu, I will try. I will do my best. I have not uploaded anything in recent times because I really didn't want to upload more shorts. I will upload longer videos, but I'm not sure if it can be weekly, but I will try. I will try. Thank you. Kong says, I think if more people knew how to apply materialist philosophy to their lives, we would have fewer problems, less religion, more sensible politics, more honesty and accountability. I don't think that's a necessary outcome of materialism, but it'll definitely be less religious. A lot of shit that religion introduces into society will not be there, which does not mean that there might not be materialist shit, right? We just don't know what will happen because we have not had such societies. People asking me personal questions about my life, please don't. I try not to answer those because my personal life is my personal life, none of your personal life. Right. So that's it. That's it for this episode. We are at 59 minutes. Before I go, I'll remind everyone that you can support this channel by becoming a member by clicking the join button below or leaving a super chat. Uska to time chala gaya, aap nahi bhej sakte. But you can also support this channel at patreon.com/Vimoh by becoming a monthly or annual subscriber. Or you can simply go to my blog at vimoh.stck.me and click the support button there and give a one-time contribution. There is no monthly funder there. You can just choose an amount and pay it. Go to vimoh.stck.me, vimoh.stck.me. There is also merch at kadakmerch.com/vimohlive. That's kadakmerch.com/vimohlive. There are t-shirts, hoodies, etc. One t-shirt has the message "Sabka Malik fake hai." I'm planning to put out some more. When I do, you'll know. So these are all the ways in which you can support the channel. And today is Saturday, 1st of April, 2023. The next time I see you, it will be Wednesday at 8 p.m. And on Wednesday, the episode might not be live. I might be recording an episode with colleagues of mine. Like, you know that I have written a comic book called Ravana. It was published by Holy Cow Entertainment. So Holy Cow Entertainment's publisher Vivek Goel and my friend Ashwin Kalmane, who's the writer, they will both be with me in a call that I will be uh, premiering on आज क्या है? Saturday. I'll be premiering on Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. So I hope you guys all hang out. They will be announcing some exciting new comic books, Indian comic books that are getting launched. Ashwin wrote them, Vivek is publishing them, and I'll just be talking to them about it because I like comics. So on the next episode will be about that. And following that, again, there will be a live chat thing where will either take questions and talk to each other, or I'll just be reading comments and responding to them. So thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye. अरे यार, म्यूजिक कहाँ गया? हाँ.